Hello everyone, Kuro the Artist here, the creator as well as the primary artist and writer for 5YL. We're coming up on 5 years since the initial release of Chapter 1, and some people may have heard some whispers and rumors about what 5YL Recalibrated is. Because 5YL art might not be as cut and dry as one might seem, I figured making this video/article will be the most effective way to explain it to everyone. That way in the future, people can just be linked right back here if they have any questions. What is 5YL Recalibrated? 5YL Recalibrated, or 5YLR, is an ongoing event. It is not a remaster, new edition, or special version. The event highlights the current transition between the original uploads of 5YL and the new ones. The new 5YL uploads are meant to replace the original uploads as the official version of the story. So from this point forward, the new version is 5YL, and will simply be known as such. The old one will be known as 5YL Archaic, or 5YLA. The updated version will mainly focus on cleaned up versions of the original art. There will also be some scenes that are completely redrawn, be it I didn't have access to the original file, or it simply looked too poor to be cleaned up and needed a full redraw in order to fit with the other improvements. There will also be extended pages to help with the narrative, but this will not be a priority. I will not be adding scenes simply for the sake of adding scenes. From there, we will be dubbing the scenes with the motion comic cast, which you can check out links to previews of this version below.
You were supposed to be the key to all this. You were supposed to lead us! You were supposed to save us all!
Why do it at all? The driving force behind the Recalibrated area is simply the fact that we are dubbing the series into a motion comic. And I just can't bring myself to put in the time, effort, and funds to professionally dub and score the series with art that still looks like this. Some may suggest waiting until the series is completely done before doing this. This makes sense for the longtime fans that want to see the story completed, but the window of opportunity to create the motion comic is not as liberal with my time. I can always take time to complete the series, but the chance to refurbish the pages in order to dub them is something I'd have to prioritize if I was ever going to do it before I miss my chance. And chances like this do not come very often. Won't this taint 5YL's story by changing that much? I wouldn't say so. Some may accuse me of George Lucasing 5YL with all of these changes. If the original uploads of 5YL were deemed the true version of the story, then sure, I can understand that. But the fact is, the original versions of 5YL aren't the true version of the story anymore. I've come to realize that the current version of 5YL, or 5YLA, is just a publicly released first draft. I was working with tons of limitations such as free time, equipment, and my own budding artistic skills. The first 6 chapters, I rarely fine-tuned the art style after the rough sketch, and inked them as is. They were drawn hastily wherever I was, on whatever surface was available, and whenever I had the time, which is a large contrast to taking the time to draw them now professionally on a tablet at my home office. Even back then, I knew I wasn't completely satisfied with how some of the art had turned out, but I released them anyways just to save time. I figured if there were a handful of solid scenes, fans would excuse the poor quality of the others. There were many times where I finished pages literally moments before uploading, never getting a chance to do a complete second read-through and make sure that all of the dialogue is tight and the art is clean. I've also been constantly developing my art style, and with the addition of a digital tablet, 5YLA is simply not up to a standard that I can truly be proud of anymore. I look back at them and feel very accomplished for what I was able to do back then, but with every passing year, it gets harder and harder to market visuals like this while we are currently releasing projects with visuals like this. I now have the opportunity to actually take a step back and treat each page with the same amount of care. I can improve character dialogue. I am better at speech bubble placement and speech bubble sizing, and character coloring and shading. Think of all the wonderful films, television shows, comics, and practically all professional media out there. I am sure they went through draft after draft, had focus group testing, reworked things in post-production, and had the time and budget to create their masterpiece face to the quintessence of their vision. Or if not their perfected version, they at least didn't immediately have to put out whatever they created without a second go at it. The difference between what I am doing and what George Lucas did is that George Lucas released a fully completed, budgeted Hollywood film with thousands of cast and crew involved, and I released the very first version of my story without any second drafts on paper covered in coffee stains. To hold a candle to 5YLA as the true version of 5YL just isn't fair to me. If I had everything that I have now, the skill, the equipment, the time, and went back to the year 2017 to do 5YL from the start all over again, it wouldn't be what you see today. And for better or for worse, 5YLA on its own isn't what I want 5YL's legacy to be. So this is the perfect version of 5YL then? The recalibrated pages are by no means perfection either. I still treat it with a semblance of a time crunch because I ultimately want to get back to working on chapter 12 and so forth. If I were to 100% clean up every single microscopic mistake, it would take far too long. There are still flaws in 5YLR that would indeed be too much to rework. I also want to honor the previous art style, so most of the art is simply cleaned up rather than completely redrawn. Even the things that are redrawn are meant to resemble the older art style, rather than update it to the current art style. But Recalibrated is at least a version of 5YL that I wouldn't mind being the one years in the future that fans can look back on. 5YLR is at least good enough to the point where I won't have the urge to ever touch the old pages ever again unless I have to. I still like the old one better. Despite all of this, I'm sure there will still be fans that would prefer the original version, warts and all. And to that, I am thankful that there are still people out there that can appreciate these stepping stones. So I will keep the original versions on my website as well, but that isn't going to change my stance on it being a rough draft. Once the updated versions drop, those are what I will refer to as 5YL from now on. This will be the prime version of the story. In conclusion, 5YLR is the process of updating 5YL, not the actual title. The updated version will simply be known as 5YL. Updates will include cleaned up art, redrawn art, improved dialogue, and extended scene. The previous version will be known as 5YLA, short for 5 years later archaic. I am doing this in preparation for the motion comic adaptation, which has a shorter window of time to pull off, as drawing the rest of the series can be done at any point in time. If you still wish to enjoy 5YLA, it will be accessible on the website. Thank you for taking the time to watch this. I'm very excited for you to see the first 3 chapters drop this year, and more shortly after, along with the motion comic. 5YL has absolutely expanded into something colossal that I never could have seen coming, and I am very thankful that it has garnished this much support over the years, and only seems to get better with age. That's about it for this video. Please make sure you follow the Inktank Twitter for more updates, and I hope you're all having a great 2022 so far. Until next time, keep it fizzy.